Welcome back to the channel, coaches. Thanks for joining me. I'm your host, Nate Allball, and we're back and ready to talk more coaching. Now, today's topic is pretty darn near to my heart, and we're talking buck sweep. But we're going to break away from my style. I lived almost my whole coaching career under center, right? Under center, wing T, buck sweep. This is our way. But there are so many ways that you can be multiple and still run the buck sweep. And more you're seeing teams into the gun that are incorporating, whether it's buck sweep concepts or buck sweep itself. And even teams, I remember last year when we were in Alabama, Coach Darden down at Muscle Shoals, Alabama, who buck sweep was their number one play. And that everything stemmed off that. Well, like I said before, I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, and I didn't drive to Louisville for you to learn from me. So we've got guests, and these guests are from Clarksville, Indiana, state champions from Providence High School. We've got head coach Daniel McDonald and O-line coach Neil Biggs. Men, thanks for joining us here in Louisville.
Appreciate you having us, Nate. Always a pleasure to help out Chief Pigskin.
And Daniel helped us out, man. He shot for us like right around COVID. We were trying to get some other guys involved shooting, and Daniel hopped on board. Then COVID hit and basically ruined all those plans, but have been close with Daniel ever since, and he's always willing to help us make some content. And he found himself a great O-line guy in Neil Biggs. So glad to have these guys. Well, I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to turn it over to you guys. The floor is yours. Teach us up, and keep in mind, right, we're thinking kind of like teaching it to newer coaches, like really just what's the base concepts of being able to run buck sweep out of the way you guys are, the sets you guys are using.
Okay. Well, we start out in this set here. We call it red, tight end wing to the right side, and then we have two fast receivers to the left. We like this formation because it really puts the defense in a bind. You got a heavy run formation to one side, and then two fast wide receivers to the other side. So it really forces the defense to play their hand. Oftentimes we end up getting a team into one high because they feel like they have to go and roll down a linebacker or roll down a safety to stop this tight end wing set. So we really like this formation. We have several different tags off of it. But, like I said in my presentation, our four-seam fastball, baseball metaphor, is to go into this formation and run buck.
Coach, let's turn it over to Coach Biggs here, man. When we're talking blocking buck sweep, now, are you teaching, let's start with guards. Because in my opinion, being a lifelong buck sweeper, I feel like those guards, we won't say they're the most important, but, man, that's awfully important. Are you guys teaching buck sweep just to one direction? So it's like the same guy is always going to be the kick out guy and the other guy is always going to be the wrap? Or do they need to know both? And then once you answer that, talk us up on some of the intricacies of how you're teaching them guards.
Yeah, the players got to be able to go both ways, left, right. They've got to be able to get out of their stance extraordinarily fast. You have got to be quick. A lot of the plays, timing is crucial, and with the play, with what's going on in the backfield and the action. So you've got to get out there. You've got to make your decisions, and we will play it to where as our guards become comfortable with it, where it becomes interchangeable. You may be the kick out guy, but if they're squeezing in, you're all of a sudden going to be logging them, and you're going outside. So there's a lot of work that goes into teaching that recognition, teaching those fundamentals on what to be watching for as you're pulling, what to be looking for, what to be anticipating.
Well, teach us something. Give us kind of a base. If you guys could dive in and say, like, day one teaching, here's what we want to get done.
Yeah, so you want me to draw it up as I'm talking here?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. We'll start with the front side first. We'll start with our tight end. His rule is, Nate, you know it?
Gap down backer?
Gap down backer. Gap down backer. So our tight end is going to go gap down backer. What's going on here with this computer? Okay, gap. Somebody's in his gap, so he's taking him. Somebody's in your inside gap. Tackle's rule is gap down backer. Well, against in the Twitter world doesn't like when coaches draw up plays against the 4-4 cover 3, but that's how we teach it first, right? And honestly, we see that quite a bit. So let's teach it against that first. The tackles rule is gap down backer. There's a 3 technique. He's in your gap. That's my guy. Now, can they move post snap? Absolutely they can. And we run through different stunts that teams may run with our guys and things of that nature. The guard, front side guard, Coach Biggs has gotten really good at teaching those guys their footwork. Are we're more skip pull now, aren't we?
We're skip pull, yes.
Yep. So he's going to skip pull, and he's looking. We teach it first. We want that kick out, right? And you can get more into the intricacies of aiming points and things of that nature. But we teach it first. You have to kick this guy out. I think it's more of a physicality deal at that point. Center's rule is to block back. Backside guard is going to get plenty of depth, skip pull insert, and he is trying to read that front side guard's block, keep it tight off of that wall that's formed by the tight end and the tackle. My finger's sticking, Nate. There we go. And he wants to insert, and he's looking for that will linebacker, honestly. And we can't neglect our wing. I talked about it in my talk, but a lot of guys, and I actually had a guy on staff who said that wing has to be a dude. He's got to be big. He's got to be physical. He's got to be strong. And I would love to have that guy. But I also love to have that guy running the ball for me at tailback. So, honestly, that wing, the priority for me is a guy who can run jet sweep. And then we'll work with, as long as he's got a little dog in him and wants to stick his nose in there, we'll teach him angles and footwork and cheat codes to get in there and be serviceable for us on those blocks. But as his base rule is gap down backer, if he can dip inside of that Sam and get to that Mike linebacker, he's going to do it. But if that Sam absolutely crosses his face, he can't let him penetrate. So, we want him to go gap down backer to the Mike, but if in the process of going gap down backer, that Sam linebacker is in the D gap, he's got to take him and wash him down. Everything I'm saying sound kosher to you so far?
Yeah, sounds like Bucksweep.
Yep. Backside tackles rule is to pull protect. The last thing we want is for that end to spike the B gap once that guard pulls. So tackle is going to pull protect, step down hard, and fan out. Receivers, we have different tags that we'll run based on RPOs or blocking or things of that nature. But as a base rule, our H or our slot is going to take a 3-step glance, skinny slant. In my talk with you, I talk about, well, maybe he's not always running that glance, or maybe the glance isn't always 3 steps. Ultimately, he's got to get to the grass, get to the window, be a big target for our quarterback. We teach it from day one that the X is going to run a 5 and in. In 4 years of running Buck and running these RPOs, we've not once hit this guy. But, and you'll see on the film earlier, by running that 5 and in like that, if that H catches that glance, he can then turn up and block the corner, and we've got a nice little alley to run into. And then our T, taking a flat step as soon as the quarterback catches the ball, and he's trying to get behind that backside guard into the insert and read his block. We've run a drill in the past where he's trying to take a towel off of that guard's back, and I stole that drill from Kenny Simpson, which you've probably seen his stuff. He does a good job. So that is Bucksweep. Coach, anything you want to add to that? Eventually we'll segue into teaching them how to log, but
yeah, so eventually we segue into teaching how to log. We originally started with the traditional just drop step pull due to timing, due to the quickness of the play, the quick hit of the play. Moved away from that, got into the skip pull for various reasons. For us, it was if there happens to be a little bit of penetration on that down block, you're running into the trash. It allows you to get that depth, get out, keep your shoulders a little more square to the line versus trying to make that 90-degree turn. And
you see it in my talk later. Our backside guard in the state finals, it wasn't the state finals. Anyway, somewhere in my talk, our backside guard is pulling, and you think he's got that lane to insert, but that linebacker shoots the gap right now because he's square to the line of scrimmage. He sees him, and what should have been an insert now becomes like an A gap. I've got to take this guy because he's shooting the gap, and we get an explosive play out of it. So Coach moving to the skip pull was a phenomenal call for us, and it's paid off. We start at left guard, a 5'8", 180-pound guard who, the fact that he can bench press 295 pounds certainly helps. He's a 15-year-old child. He benches 295 and squats 450. But he's a freshman, and he's only going to get better. So that's exciting. Our right guard is a 6'3" sophomore. And those guys are athletes. The sophomore is a pitcher and a corner infielder on the baseball team, and come his senior year, he's going to have a decision to make. Is he going to play college baseball or college football? So we like having athletes at those guards, obviously.
Well, those are some great problems to have when you got to make those decisions. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed that. Keep in mind, if you ever are going to decide to go the way of Bucksweep, I would just encourage you. It is known for being an expensive play. It's known for that. It's known for being expensive. So before I let you go, I'm going to send that question over to our guys here, our guests from Providence. Why do you think it gets that reputation for being expensive? And obviously, you guys have deemed it worth it.
What do you think? I mean, we've majored in it for 4 years now,
Lord.
so.
Yeah.
And I heard that exact terminology. I mean, the first year I was at Providence, coach hadn't joined us yet, and I had a different O-line coach, and really good guy, really good coach. But he said, "Man, if we're going to run this play and that play, Buck's just too expensive." But we've invested in it. My house, on paper, is pretty expensive too, but it's an investment, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Well said.
But it's an investment from the first grade up. I mean, I talk about it in my talk. I mean, my third grader is a quarterback, and he knows what Bucksweep is. My fifth grader, thank God we have a really good feeder program. All of those kids go to our deanery schools, and our deanery schools have combined to make an academy team. We call it the Providence Football Academy.
That's great.
And what's really cool about it, man, is our defensive line coach is the head coach of the fifth grade team. His son is an absolute monster. We call him the Viking. He's a defensive lineman. He could probably play high school ball next year. But, this fifth grade team, I've been in the locker room with them at halftime, and these kids are at the board looking at Coach Davidson saying, "Coach, they're giving us this. How about we try to block it like this?" So to me, that investment in this expensive play is paying off. I get calling it expensive because we've spent 4 years on it, and I think we still have some stuff that we can get better at. But it's an identity play, so much so that it's kind of a running joke with our kids. Are we running buck today? And their favorite drill and offense is the buck drill. And you've seen it with the hurdles, and the Coach Biggs is in construction. He made the hurdles for us, and we get the hurdles out, and the guys know we're running buck today. We're doing the buck drill. Let's get after it. So expensive in the sense that it takes a while to install, and there's a lot of different variables, but that's your identity. That's the house you're building. That's the house that is appreciating for you.
It's like golf. You've got to do it over and over and over to get the time. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of little intricacies that could just destroy the play for you if you're not perfect with it. No different than a golf swing. And with that, you've got to spend a lot of time focusing on that play, and not just the fundamentals, but getting the players to understand the play, understand why, understand the reactions to certain looks or how this might be occurring in order for it to be successful. When that investment starts paying off, it pays big.
Right.
I mean, we went 4 years ago, we were trying to run outside zone, excuse me. To me, that's an expensive play. And, I'm not dogging it. It's a good play. I mean, several programs run it really well, but we just didn't have the personnel for it. Our backs were more akin to, instead of reading the hole could open here, it could open here, our backs were better at saying, I can follow that guard. And I can read daylight once I follow that guard. But it was painful that first year, trying to go from outside zone to buck and power and counter and things of that nature. I could see where people would say it's expensive, but, and I think you would agree, Nate, you have to live by it. It has to be who you are. And we run it from the gun primarily, but we've gone under center and run the traditional buck series from under center as well. Fake trap, run buck, we run waggle from under center. We run trap from under center. So, it to me, buck enables us to be so multiple.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that, man. Huge thanks and shout out to our guys here from Providence. And make sure to follow us and look these guys up over on X. Coach McDonald just did a presentation on buck and a lot of the compliments to it that help keep it alive. So obviously a super talented team, unbeaten here in the 2024 season. So we hope you guys will check that out. You can find that link below. Otherwise, hey, like, subscribe, and join us next week right back here as we talk more ball.